Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Lee. I'm the Dean for Student Services and Enrollment Management at the New York College of Podiatric Medicine. This evening with us, we have our Dean of Preclinical Sciences, as well as some of our students in the upper class that also started in the January program, so they can share their experiences and wisdom with you. So thank you for joining us this evening. Why don't we go to the next slide, please? So if I can ask our students to unmute themselves. Viraj, do you want to kick it off and introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is Viraj. I'm a current second year at NYCPM, and I'm from New Jersey, Central Jersey to be particular. If anyone has any questions, of course, please ask me, but I'm really excited to meet you all.
Shruti, I know Derek right now is rushing home, so he can join us. So he'll introduce himself when he gets home. But Shruti?
Hi everyone, my name is Shruti. I'm a current third year here at NYCPM. I am originally from Austin, Texas, so shout out to anyone else who is like out of the tri-state area. I did my undergrad degree in biochemistry, and yeah, if anyone has any questions later on, please feel free to ask.
Awesome, thank you. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so about our January program. We are traditionally, podiatric medicine is a 4-year medical program. We are the only college of podiatric medicine to have a January start. It's sort of non-traditional. It's the January program is 4.5 years versus the traditional 4 years. And there are many advantages to that. The tuition and everything is prorated. So the cost of attendance is that of a fall student. It's just a nicer transition to the medical school curriculum, because the first year classes are spread out between 3 semesters rather than the traditional 2. And then what happens is after your first term at NYCPM, which is traditionally from January to May, you have the summer off, and then you get to join the fall class in August. Next slide, please. Okay, so Dr. Chusid, if you don't mind going over the curriculum for us.
No, I would love to go. I also welcome you. And as Dean Lee said, we're the only college to have a January class. And well, I would say that pretty much all of the students who join our January class are thrilled to be members of that class for many reasons. But the first 2 years of your medical school are devoted to preclinical sciences, where the faculty prepares you to take and be successful in the APMLE Part 1, which is our National Board Part 1. And in doing that, you will be taking, we'll go into that on the next slide, as we list the courses that you will take. And that after you pass Part 1, you will go into your third year. And we've recently moved to the block curriculum in the third year, which is turning out to be a very successful move, where our students if they are in a medicine rotation, they spend weeks just doing medicine. Then they move to surgery. They spend weeks doing total immersion in surgery, on to orthopedics, etc. And that seems to be working very well. I hope our third year students didn't feel too much like guinea pigs, but it seems to be turning out very well for them. And I'm happy to hear that. And then in your fourth year, you leave us with our clinical dean at the end of your second year. And beginning of your third year, you start to pick outside rotations at different hospitals around the entire nation, where you think you might be interested in their program for a variety of reasons. And when you go there, we have found that you were very well prepared. Students enjoy those rotations, but we always encourage students to interview the rotation people as much as the rotation people are interviewing you, because at that point you are really on the brink of being young podiatrists. And so that's a thumbnail sketch of the 4-year curriculum. And we can go into a list of the courses you will take and a comparison with the 4.5 versus the 4-year. And again, pointing out what we think might be some, what we think really might be some advantages.
Actually, it is. We have found that they are definitely advantages to starting in the January program. But actually, you know what? Kudos to our class of 2025. Today, we just learned what the national average is for the Part 1 pass rate. Nationally, the Part 1 pass rate passage, the average was 84%. Our students, first-time takers, achieved a 93 percentile pass rate. So Shruti, like kudos to your class. And then just to give you an overview of our Part 2 boards, our students, you know, every year they perform past the national average. And then usually by the second administration of the Part 2 boards, we're at 100%, as well as 100% residency placement. So rest assured, if you become a student at NYCPM, you will be well prepared and trained to move on to your boards and eventually residency. So let's go on to the next slide.
Okay, so the January curriculum, and why Dean Lee has asked me to present these slides is I always tell people I'm going to torture them for 2 years, but I really don't. I oversee the courses in the first 2 years, and they're intense, but boy, do you learn a lot. I always ask the students as they go home in November for Thanksgiving, did you ever think you could learn so much? And they give themselves a big round of applause. So your first term will start in January, and as Dean Lee said, will go till May. The biggest course during that time will be your general anatomy and lab course. And the reason I mentioned that first is I want you to store it under G in your heads, because when we get to term 2 and 3, it's going to be really very nice, okay? And then you take bacteriology, which is going to prepare you for a second-year course in infectious diseases. You will also be taking neuroscience along with general anatomy, and they go very nicely hand in hand because neuroscience has a lot of anatomical correlations. And then come May, you get May until August off, and you come back and you take term 2. We say term, not semester, because the 4-year curriculum is on semesters, but you'll see when you get to term 3, you're going to be with everything is going to be the same. So in your term 2, that's the entering semester for the August-September class. And you will be taking with them biochem, histology, which I teach, genetics, and physiology part 1. So there are 4 courses in that first semester. They're pretty intense courses, but we think 4 courses are manageable. And we had actually reduced the physiology burden by 3 credits to spread that out. Come term 3, you'll be taking medical ethics, not of doctoring, immunology, molecular biology, and physiology part 2, but not bacteria, not general anatomy, etc. So that's where the somewhat of an advantage comes in. And we're going to get to another slide that you might be interested in, because basically you have a little more time. You can, in that term 1, it's a great time to acclimate to medical school, because that really is a big transition emotionally, mentally, physically, academically. And it's very helpful to have that little bit lighter load when you first enter, and it transitions out over these 3 terms. And by the time you get to semester 2, the second year class, everybody's in it, all in it together. So you graduate in 4.5 years. Come September, you have additional classmates joining you. So you will be all together in the class of 2028. And we have found that it works really well. People get along, and it becomes a very nice, tight-knit class. And it gives you time. We're going to talk a little bit about the dual degree, because the students in the January class really have a little leg up if they're interested in pursuing that degree.
Okay, before we go on to the next slide, though, I see Derek has joined us. So Derek, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Hey, my name is Derek. I'm originally from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I don't know if you can see my shirt, but I went to Penn State and biology major. I actually worked in podiatry for a little bit before I got into school, so I have some insight into what the light at the end of the tunnel looks like. So you guys gonna really like
Awesome.
NYCPM. Great school.
Thank you, Derek. Actually, since we are on the slide, maybe you guys can share with us, how do you think you've benefited academically by joining the January program? So Derek, since you already introduced yourself, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So in the January class, so your first term is with the class above you. So what that does is that it kind of gives you a good insight on, what kind of works for, the school and like how you're going to get through, and you get a lot of good advice as to how to approach your first semester and, getting started in medical school, because they're already there and they've, got some they've gotten some acclimatization to the school. And the lighter load at the beginning really lets you hone in on, reading the entirety of the subject that they're giving you, because it is a lot. But it gives you a kind of like getting your feet wet before you dive in the fall.
Thank you. Raj, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, I came from taking a gap year, so I was definitely not accustomed to the entire high stress, high curriculum medical school. So taking the January program, I was able to kind of like spread out my credits across the entire year, and taking about 13 credits for the first semester kind of helped me kind of gauge how I can go about medical school. And it definitely helped me acclimate, if you will, to medical school and kind of understand the rigor that is required of us, and kind of slowly get better at it. So going into January curriculum from an entire year of not being in school just helped me personally kind of slowly get back into the school, into studying every day, into managing different basic necessities that requires kind of came like maintaining a balance of lifestyle, if you will.
Actually, Viraj, you reminded me when we first started the January program in 2001, historically, we actually started the program for non-traditional students. We started the program for non-traditional students that had been out for a while, or for students coming in from like non-science, non-health related fields. And we have a pretty diverse group of students, and not everybody was pre-med. So, when we first started the program, that is the pool that we were thinking of. But now, and the classes were much smaller then. Now the January class is usually about 20 students. And it's a nice mix of students that are non-traditional, but as well as traditional students that might have graduated in December or the semester before, that just want to get moving with their medical career. Shruti?
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate everything that's been said already, I love that this program really gives you time to understand the material rather than just memorize it. And you kind of learn similar things in each class. Like, for example, general anatomy and neuroscience overlap for like a unit. So that's really cool that you're learning the same material from like two different professors in different ways to kind of help you better understand it from different perspectives. A lot of what's going to be taught in biochemistry will kind of appear later in immunology. So like there's a lot of overlap. And I think that really helps you later on really understand the material.
Awesome, thank you. Next slide, please. Dr. Chusid.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the programs that the college offers and has offered, I guess for about 12 years now, is a dually sponsored degree with Mount Sinai, the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. And this is a program designed for medical students, PGY 1, 2, 3, and others just interested in pursuing a Master's of Public Health. The classes, why I say it's designed for doctors and medical students, is that the classes don't start till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a totally late afternoon, evening program, because that's usually when classes end and clinics end. And so we usually have a few students in each year who go down to Mount Sinai, which is it's about a mile away from the college. And they register for 2 or 3 courses a semester. Mount Sinai is on trimesters, so you rack up your credits really quickly. And the students, you get a mentor down at Mount Sinai. They're considered Mount Sinai students, you know, in terms of use of the gym, the library, the cafeteria, study areas, things like that. And they, all our students that have registered so far have finished in either 4 or 4.5 years. The majority finish in the first 2. They usually do their practicum and their thesis on a podiatric related public health issue. For instance, how would you educate MD physicians or DO physicians about podiatric medicine? How would you educate John Q. Public about diabetes? How would you educate the diabetic about what she should be doing for routine checkups, and creating templates for that? And so that's and the students involved really seem to love it. They really seem to love it. But again, there are different concentrations. Some of our students do international health. Some of our students are more interested in the accounting end of it. Some of our students take the administrative end because they're particularly interested after they finish their residencies in having a strong presence and a place at the table in terms of dictating and academic policies and health policies in the institutions in which they're working. And so they've been quite successful in doing that. And our students in general are very happy and very successful when they're done.
And actually, it's our January students that have started in our January program. Some, as you mentioned earlier, finished a full MPH degree within 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So that's another advantage of starting in January if you're interested in pursuing the MPH. So why don't we move on to the next slide? Okay, so January advantages. I think we covered a lot of them. That you don't have to wait to start your studies. It's a better transition to the medical school curriculum. You have additional time to acclimate to New York City on NYCPM if you are not from the area, and really more time to get involved in school activities and research. Looking at our leadership, student government leadership and club leadership, many are from our January program. And I think, you know, and Derek, you brought up a good point. I think as a January student, the fact that you have really close camaraderie with the class before you, and then the class that eventually joins you, I think is a huge advantage. And honestly, personally, I never gave that much thought to, but it is a huge advantage. But do you guys have any other advantages that you'd like to share outside of what you've already shared about joining in the January program?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit more to the leadership. Because I'm the delegate for my class for APMSA, the student organization that kind of mirrors the APMA in a bit. But so I learned about the position from Ron, a guy in the class above me, just talking and passing because he was my lab partner for general anatomy. So just stuff like that. You can just get a bigger, like a bigger picture of like you're there if you get the grades, but you also want to enrich yourself and get the full experience of being at an institution like NYCPM.
Okay. Anything else to add, guys? No? Okay, we'll move on to the next slide then. Okay, as I just mentioned, it does give you a lot of opportunities to get involved in leadership. NYCPM has so many student clubs and chapters. I mean, it's like, as a Dean of Student Services, I approved new clubs, and already like last year, I think we incorporated 3 new clubs. I know right now, another group of students, actually from the 3rd year, they've proposed another new club. But as January students, you can get involved as soon as you start in January and become members of the club, which eventually leads to more opportunities to be more intimately involved and become more part of the student leadership for those clubs. Like Derek said, he is the APMSA student rep, which is the student chapter of the American Podiatric Medical Association, which is a national association for podiatric medicine. And as a student rep, as a delegate for APMA, he gets to travel to the various conferences. You get a lot of opportunities to network with people practicing in the field. So yeah, that's another great leadership position. We also have available mission trips. We have a club called International Podiatric Club, and every year a group of students go on a mission trip. I think this past year they went to the DR. In the past, they've gone to Mexico, they've gone to Puerto Rico. I went one year, one of the faculty advisor for IPC even took a small group of students to the Philippines. Publications, traditional yearbook, but we also have the Podiatric Medical Review, which is a research journal that's published by students themselves. Also, the traditional student government, student council. At NYCPM, we believe that community service is very important. So there are a lot of community service opportunities, especially through the clubs, and of course, research. So do you guys want to share with us what other like extracurricular activities that you are involved with?
So I'll start with that. So currently I am the class of 2026 treasurer, but I'm also the APMSA website and resource committee member, which I think is really cool because it gives us a chance to kind of collaborate with the other students at different medical schools, at different podiatry schools around the country, which I thought was really cool. And I'm also a student ambassador, as well as a few other positions in our school, which I think is very important in terms of not only kind of creating that leadership that you want to attain during medical school, but also get to know different people along the journey, which I think is very significant.
And you're also our resident advisor, but we actually have we're doing a presentation on bridges, so I'm going to have you do that.
Oh, that's true. Yes, I am the RA of the bridges. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Shruti?
Yeah, so I was actually able to write a meta-analysis for the PMR journal recently this past year. I think it's in the process of being like edited and verified, but I think that's something that's really cool. I'm also part of the Diabetics and Wound Care Club and also the Asian American Students Club. Also, I'm also a student ambassador and a tutor. One thing I do want to add is that if you have a leadership position in a club, it gives you a really cool opportunity to connect more with like your faculty advisor. For the Diabetics and Wound Care Club, that's Dr. Iorio, who's super successful in the world of wound care. So it's been interesting kind of talking to him and getting to know like the current research that he's been doing and things like that. So that's another cool opportunity as well.
Awesome. So, I mean, I guess I want to stress that yes, medical school curriculum is difficult and you do have to focus on your studies, but it is possible to have a balanced life and get involved in other activities and also take advantage of being in New York City. Is that right? I see nodding heads of our.
Oh yeah, please, if you get the chance, please go to a Yankees game. If you've never been, it is unlike any other. It is such a good experience. You go with your friends, go have a good time, go to the bars nearby, go to the restaurants nearby. New York City, you can go every single day and find something new. And it is important that you do that because you will never find another time to be living in the city. And that's huge. It's a huge advantage.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, next slide, please. Oh, and I forgot to mention other activities that are kind of like mainstream are like our students also get involved with the New York City Marathon once they go into their third year, as well as travel to Boston for the Boston Marathon. Also various marathons like half marathons and such throughout the city. You have the opportunity to volunteer and work the medical tents. So housing, the bridges. I didn't realize that prospective students didn't realize we actually offer student housing. So it's called the Bridges. I'm going to ask Raj to cover the slides since she's more intimately involved with student housing.
Yes, absolutely. So I am currently one of the 2 RAs at the Bridges. So every apartment includes 2 bathrooms and 1 kitchen and a living room type situation. There are 2 select different types of apartments. There's one with 7 bedrooms and one with 4 bedrooms. But either you choose, the roommates are great. Everyone is very respectful of everyone being a student and in the NYCPM community. We're also one of the very few buildings in the community that has a laundry room, has a rooftop, has a lounge area downstairs with ping pong tables and pool tables, as well as a study room, which I think is very beneficial for students in medical school. We not only have like cubicle area, but we also have like a large study room if you wanted to do a group study situation. Another benefit is the convenience of living so close to school. Like I think I've gotten to school in -3 minutes. Like I've kind of walked really fast and I've gotten there for an 8 a.m. class. I left at 7:57 and I've still gotten there within time. So I think that's a very beneficial point because I know how hard it is in terms of medical school when sometimes we just want to sleep in or we want to sleep a little extra, you know. So being so close to the school kind of helps that situation. You can wake up a little later, or you know that on a day of an exam that you have an 8 a.m. exam, you can still wake up and get to school within time, no problem. Utilities are included as well as like appliances. So you don't have to worry about anything aside from the rent that you pay within the school tuition bill. So I think that that's also very helpful because I know sometimes people are stressed about like, oh, it's the first of the month, we have to pay them rent. It's all covered. So I think living within the Bridges is definitely a beneficial point of view.
Yeah, and you know what, for full disclosure, I don't, if students want it, they can find cheaper housing options in New York City. The Bridges, it's all inclusive. So it's actually economical if you think about Wi-Fi and utilities, AC, heating, all being included. But there are other options. Students are not required to go into student housing. That said, Shruti, did you start out at the Bridges or did you always commute, or what was your arrangement your first year?
Yeah, so my first year I commuted from Upper East Side. I know quite a few of my classmates live in the area. It's about I would say all in all like a 15-minute commute. At least if you're like, I guess above like the 70s, if you go further down, it's probably going to take a little longer.
And that's the thing about New York City. Everything is so convenient because of the mass transit. You could get from one tip of the island to the other tip of Manhattan, like, I don't know, 30 minutes. I think that's fair to say. How about you, Derek?
Yeah, I had a kind of unique situation because I'm not from the Northeast. I was living in Florida when I got accepted and then had to move up to New York. So I looked on a couple of websites and eventually found like where I would live. But there's like different situations. Like I took over a room that someone, the people were just looking for someone to take the room because their old roommate had left them. So, but there's options. I'm pretty close. There's like because I'm in West Harlem, so it's pretty close to the school, and I kind of drive sometimes too. So, but I live by the one train, so it's
You have a car in the city? I didn't realize that.
Say that again.
You have a car in the city?
Yeah, it's just how it happened because I moved to Tampa and then like I had my car, so like I had to bring it up with me to New York. So, but I mean, it's pretty convenient.
That's convenient, yeah. But I would be honestly, I would say that's kind of an uncommon situation, right?
Yeah, it's just yeah,
Parking in New York City is not easy.
it's awful. Well, but in West Harlem, there's like street parking, which is a little more calm, but it's still pretty bad. I don't drive in Lower Manhattan though.
I'm not gonna lie, I also keep my car because I'm from Central Jersey, so driving is just a little bit easier for me. But there's a garage right next to the bridges, very affordable price for monthly, and it makes the travel so much easier. I'm in and out of Jersey to New York within 40 minutes flat, so I'm a very big proponent of having my car here.
Awesome. I did not know that. That's good to know. Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so what was your typical day like your first term, second, and third? Maybe we can divide that up. I'm going to have Shruti take over the third term since she's farthest removed. So Viraj, you want to take first term, and then Derek, I'll have you take second.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first term was also like it was, to be honest, very like very doable, very lax. So I'd say we had about 4 hours of class, maybe 3 to 4 days a week. And within that time, we not only had class lectures, but we had labs, extra workshops, whatever we were like required to do. And there was ample amounts of time to study, but also ample amounts of time to explore the city. So I think that kind of allowed me to not only acclimate to the city culture, but also acclimate to the school culture and get back into school because I was a January student, obviously. So being out of school for a year, it kind of helped me ease into the curriculum with some heavy loaded classes like anatomy, bacteriology. So I think that that was definitely beneficial. But I'd say you definitely have time to kind of do your own thing and create your own balance while at the same time having enough time to study for classes.
Derek, you want to take second term?
Yeah, so second term, coming back from the summer, it was good. A little less time, but you kind of get like after your first couple of tests, like you kind of get like the general gist of like how each class gets or like what is expected of you as a student at NYCPM. So we'd have class from it was like 8, 9 in the morning, and sometimes there'd have to be afternoon classes and other times there wouldn't be. I'd say we usually be done by 3:30 most days. Again, I felt like there was ample time, less time than January semester, but I really think you get a good hang of like how to manage each individual class. Like as I keep adding on, you kind of can manage it because you kind of see. It's funny how Viraj said we had, what should you say, we had 4 hours of class 3 days a week. That just sounds like absurd right now. It doesn't even seem real we did that semester, but I mean it's good. It really the second term was good. I felt like it was a good transition.
It's probably one of the more challenging terms of your first year, I'm gonna guess, because it's a full course load, right?
Yeah. And also like socially, like like we didn't have any problems in our class, but like it is a little different with the rest of your class coming in because you don't know them. So everyone's open and stuff. It's just it's just a little different, like because there's just more people in the class, and it just the dynamic changes a little bit. But then you guys are all together for spring for the most part. So
Yeah, and I actually noticed that the camaraderie amongst the January class stays strong until graduation because you all started together. So you're almost not a subgroup, but you have like a strong bond that
yeah.
continues throughout. Shruti, you
Oh,
want to take
yeah.
a picture? Sorry, Viraj.
No, I just wanted to say we have like a little family amongst our bigger family. So like I know me and Derek, we started in the January program, and regardless of anything, we always still after exams, we look out for each other, we look at each other, we fist bump each other, we're like, you did good, we did good, okay, bet. Like it's definitely a different type of camaraderie that we have amongst our January family, which I definitely appreciate because it's important to have people that support you. It's important to like acknowledge the people that are struggling with you at the same time. So I don't know. I really love our January program.
Thank you. Shruti, you want to take third term? That's like a coasting term.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, so during your third term by now, you're used to the city, you're kind of besties with like all of your class now. It's a really great environment. I will say that kind of how Derek was saying earlier, like the social dynamic, like um I was I kind of had a different scenario because my January class started on Zoom before we like transitioned to being in person because of COVID. So I feel like this was truly the term where everyone kind of got close. Like everyone was already close, but like we met in person during our second term, and this was the term where we're like, okay, we're all like besties now and everything. So that was very nice for us. Um, the classes, medical ethics, that's kind of a cool class. It's more of like a social perspective on the world of healthcare, so it's kind of a nice break in between all your science classes. Immunology is a class that does require a lot of like reading and work, especially if you've never been exposed to the subject before, but again, it's very like doable, and you do have a lot of time to kind of understand the concepts and everything. Physiology is kind of like a continuation of physiology like during the previous term, so that's a bit nice because it's like the same professor, so you kind of like build a nice relationship with her and everything. And yeah, this semester is very doable. You're kind of continuing that like energetic kind of yeah, you're just high on energy basically. I think is the best way to describe it. So yeah, I overall love third term, and I think you guys will too.
Awesome. Thank you, Shruti. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so we do have a mix of an audience here today. We have some new incoming students for the January program, as well as prospective students. That said, especially for the new incoming January students, what advice do you have for them? Shruti, you want to take it first, and then we'll go to Viraj and Derek?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice would be to just learn as much as you can, really ask for help. I think building that sort of connection with each other and your faculty early on is like really crucial to your success, regardless of when you start, whether you start in January or in the fall semester. Truly like just enjoy the process. Like you guys will really love the kind of like slowed down aspect. It gives you more time to kind of immerse yourself in everything. And yeah, don't be afraid to ask your upperclassmen for anything. We've all been in your shoes before, and we love giving out advice. So yeah, please, if you see us all in the hallway, don't hesitate to approach us, whether it's about preclinical, clinical, everything. We got your back. And yeah, we wish you guys all the best.
And actually, all our incoming students get two big brother sisters, one in the second year and one in the third year. So that's also helpful too. Viraj?
Yes, I agree with everything Shruti said, along with Dean Lee also said. My second and third year big helped me tremendously throughout the entire matriculation process and just kind of getting acclimated to medical school. But I will say my biggest advice is the fact that you are now spread along 3 semesters for your first year. Hone in on your grades, hone in on your schoolwork, kind of get the best footing you can get because you have a less curriculum in terms of each semester. I think that benefited me the most. I was able to kind of make sure I was focusing on each important class, and with a durable amount of time, especially being out of school for so long, it kind of helps you get a good footing after your first year, good GPA, good like just standing with faculty, admin. I also was able to get involved with being the treasurer for my class, and I'm also now the treasurer again for my second year. So I think it just helps you kind of maintain your time and get a balance of kind of when you could put time towards schoolwork, when you could put time towards leadership and activities and volunteering, etc., and just becoming the best overall rounded candidate that you can be.
Awesome. Derek?
Yeah, I would say just take advantage of like kind of like what Roger was saying, the faculty that you're learning from, because these are really brilliant people. They're very interesting. They all have their own like unique personalities, and I feel like you gain a lot when you have a more personal relationship with some of the professors, just because you guys are all adults now and they're adults too, so you kind of have to take that into consideration when you're when you're going through this process. And it kind of makes the classes feel a little bit better when you kind of know the person making the test a little bit. It's not as hard, I guess. I don't know, for me personally, I feel like I had a good relationship with all the professors that we've had, and I see them in the hallway, and you can crack some jokes and stuff. So that would be my advice, is to really try to get to know the people that are teaching you, because you guys are there sitting in class for a long time, so you might as well get to know who these people are.
But also, is it fair to say that obviously not all professors, but majority of our professors are pretty accessible? I know Dr. Chusett is on her phone like late into the evening speaking to students, and like many of our professors are truly there for you. I think Dr. Wade, I had heard, gives you her personal phone number so you guys can
Yes.
for an exam,
Yeah.
and so
I think I've been on the phone with Dr. Wade more times than any other professor, and I've also gone to Dr. Urize's office, which is our biochem professor. I've basically lived in his office right after classes. I could go anytime, even if I was at school until like 6, 7 p.m. Sometimes I'd find him in there, which was very accessible to me and very helpful, just because it would kind of ease my anxiety. Sometimes you just have a question you want to ask and you don't want to send the email.
great, thank you. Next slide, please. So the application procedure. Actually, you know what? We have our Director of Enrollment Management here with us, so I'm going to ask her to go through the application procedure and admissions.
Hi, everyone. Basically, the application process is pretty simple. You will first go into APMAS. That's the short form for American Association of College of Podiatric Medicine. After that, we have 2 start dates, like everybody knows, the January start date and the fall start date. So the deadline for the January start date is November 30th. Now, the average MCAT score that we require is 496, but that shouldn't stop you from applying. I would definitely tell you, reach out to us for virtual advisement. We are there and we could assist you to go over your grades and everything else needed. The average GPA that we require is 3.2, a science GPA of 3.0. We do need 3 letters of recommendation or a pre-health committee letter.
Okay,
In
so
terms of,
sorry.
sorry.
I just wanted to confirm we don't require the 3.2. nor the 3.0. That is our average. In fact, our average, I think, is a little bit higher than that now. But it's just the average. The range of incoming stats, it really depends on the individual. I think our admissions for NYCPM, we really do look at the holistic picture of a student. So even if your GPA may fall short, we may look at the type of courses that you've taken throughout the semester. So if you only took one science class and you have a 4.0, that's very different than someone that's taken 3 advanced science courses and has a 3.0 or 2.7. So that's one aspect of looking at an applicant holistically. We also look at what activities. Did you just go to school and you don't have any extracurricular activities listed? Well, you know, we'd like to see well-balanced students at NYCPM, because we really do believe students, you know, that have experience getting involved, community service, they bring much more wealth, or much more I can't mind blank, but like they can contribute more to the NYCPM community, which all students could benefit from. And you know, you want to take over the prerequisite requirements?
Sure. So for the prerequisite, we do need chemistry 1 and 2 with the lab, biology 1 and 2 with lab, physics 1 and 2 with lab, and also organic chemistry 1 and 2 with lab, and definitely English. Keep in mind, we do need the MCAT scores. I know somebody had a question, yes, but we do need the MCAT scores in order for you to apply.
You can actually apply before your MCATs, but in order to be fully admitted, you will need to have your official MCAT scores on file. We do also accept the DATs on a case-by-case basis as well. In addition to the prerequisite courses, if possible, it's a huge advantage to also have biochemistry under your belt when starting medical school. Okay, I think at this time, the next slide is just for questions. Agatha, do you want to go to the next slide? Oh, no, I guess not. Okay, so these are really for, these are some important dates to keep in mind. Our housing application, when students are admitted to the program, they also receive an attachment, which is a housing application. Orientation packets for the new incoming January class. I know we have some here. I believe I already sent out the orientation email to everyone. First day of orientation for the January class is January 2nd and 3rd. It's a 2-day orientation. First day of class is January 4th. Also, you know, moving date, if you decide to go into the bridges, will start on December 19th, right before the holidays. For students that are coming in your orientation packet, you received the information for Castle Branch. Castle Branch is an outside company that we have contracted to keep track of health requirements, as well as the background check. All background checks must be completed before the first day of orientation. I think the next slide is for questions. So from our attendees, do you have any questions for any of us, including our students? Feel free to just type it in the chat or in the Q&A. The question is, if you are staying at the bridges, is it required to be there on the 19th? The answer is no. You have, I believe, multiple days to move in if you choose. We've had students move in after the first day of orientation as well. We do have fixed dates, but if there's a sound reason why you can't come in the designated dates, our housing manager, Miss Natasha Peel, will work with you. Any other questions? We'll give it a couple of minutes. Okay, another question. Are the January and September terms different in terms of curriculum?
Yes. Yes, if we could take a look at that slide again, if you could go back to the slide, they're quite different. The advantage of the January class is that your first semester is much lighter. You have you're only taking 3 courses, and then in term 2, I think you're also 1 course down. You don't start taking the full course with the rest with the rest of the class really until semester 2, which would be your term 4. And so up until that time, you're taking a lighter load over a year and a half with what the August-September class is taking in a year. That's the advantage of it.
But ultimately, all the courses that you take as a January student are the same courses you would take.
The same courses, yeah. They're just spread out.
And that is really the huge advantage of the January program. A student asked, can they start in the August term 2? No, if you start in August, you'll be starting as a 4-year student. You can't start in the middle of the January program in term 2. The only way to take advantage of this lighter load is by joining in the January program. The next question is, what in terms of NYCPM emails to set up on the tour portal, that will actually be going out probably in the next 2 weeks. So keep your eye out on the emails. You'll be getting your NYCPM email as well as permission for registration. In addition to attending lectures, are the classes recorded and posted?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if there are any details or wisdom to that. So does one of the students want to take that?
Yeah, all the classes are recorded. And if like something happens, they'll give you something, like, because the lectures are very similar year to year for the most part. So if there's a malfunction or anything, they have a fairly similar recording from the previous year that they'll give you that matches up pretty well. So I've never really had an issue with reviewing captures of the classes.
And it includes all the slides as well. And it's all available to students on Canvas.
And they post them the same day too. So the captures are usually there like by the end of the day from the day you had your lecture.
And for full disclosure, we do have an attendance policy. I just want to make sure all students are aware. We do have an attendance policy where we like our students present in class for our live lectures. But I will say Dr. Chusett has an extremely generous policy for the preclinical sciences, where you can have up to 35% of unexcused absences. And that is outside of excused absences, which will not count towards your 35%. So if you wake up one day and you're like, I really need to study for anatomy and missed bacteriology, that can go towards your 35%. The next question is, when is the deadline to sign up for the MPH program? Actually, there's a lot of flexibility for signing up for the MPH program. You can start, the MPH is on a trimester system. So you can apply whenever. You can apply before you start the January program, or you can decide to get one term under your belt and decide, let me see what the curriculum is like and then apply. It's really up to you. So I can't say there's an official deadline. They also have rolling admissions at Icahn School of Medicine. Let's see. Is there anything you would specifically recommend to make our application competitive? I would say establish motivation, obviously for medicine, but also for podiatric medicine. We don't require students to shadow, but I think that if you are able to demonstrate, especially in your personal statement, your motivation for pursuing this field, I think that helps you to stand out. I think that, once again, going back to experiences, if you have work experience, for example, more recently, in the past few years, we noticed students coming in with a lot of scribing experience, medical assistant experience and such. And we find that those students are extremely successful, probably because they're earlier acclimated to medical terminology. So if you definitely have experience working in a doctor's office or a hospital, I would say definitely include that in in your application. And if you work throughout college, even if it's something like working at your local, tutoring, or working at your, I don't know, local department store, include that, because what it demonstrates is that you have good time management skills, that you were able to handle your academics while you had other responsibilities. So there's no detail that's small for your application, and for the ACMAS application, I know there's a section to include all that information. Now, the next question is, what are the scholarship opportunities? We have an extremely generous scholarship program where we determine your scholarship based on your incoming stats, as well as how well you do on your interviews. We also take into consideration the ranking of your school, your undergraduate institution. Our scholarships are offered across all 4 years. In order to maintain your scholarship, you have to maintain a 3.4 GPA. So at the end of your first year, if you have maintained a 3.4, you will be guaranteed the scholarship in your second year. But by chance, if you fall below the 3.4 and then are able to bring your GPA back up to a 3.4 at the end of the second year, we will reinstate that scholarship for your third year. So really, the purpose of our merit-based scholarships is to entice our students to continue to be high performers. The next question is, housing deposit before moving in, is that correct? Yes, we're not going to collect your housing deposit until you move in. There is a housing application fee, which is different than the actual housing deposit. And as I said earlier, yes, scholarships are based on merit. If there is a need and students reach out to me, I try to see what we can do, but our official scholarships for incoming student is all merit-based. Can international students get full scholarships or financial aid for the first year? We don't have full scholarships for any students, whether you are a resident, citizen, or such. Our scholarships do range. But as for financial aid is not, it's a federal fund, so it's not offered to international students. But for international students, if you attended schools in Canada or the United States, yes, we do offer merit-based scholarships to them as well. Right now, the general tuition fee is it's $17,455 per semester. So multiply that by 2. Sorry, I don't have the exact figure. What is considered the highest scholarship? This past year, because we received so many competitive applicants, we have awarded as high as $20,000 for an incoming student. That's more than we've ever offered. Generally, our highest scholarship is half tuition. And as I said, we take into consideration the needs of our incoming student. Once accepted, obviously, we want to see you at NYCPM. So we try to work with you within reason on the scholarships. I think that was our last question. I don't see anything in the chat. So at this time, since we are now at 6:02, I thank everyone for joining us, our attendees. Also, thank you so much to our panelists, Dr. Chusid, and our students. Thank you for all of your help and your valuable advice. Have a wonderful evening. If you have any questions, our attendees, feel free to reach out to us, enrollment@nycpm.edu. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.